Well, we've done it again. The end of another season. Season 2 has come and gone. 29 episodes. Some great, some not so great. Welcome to this Season 2 retrospective, as we walk through and break down some of the highlights of this great season of this iconic show. First, we'll break down the season by score. Just like in Season 1, I'll recap how many episodes ended up in each score category, plus a percentage of the season's total. The percentages in many cases are rounded, so don't get too picky with the math here, it's just for fun. First, we have the 0 out of 3 category. Here we only had 2 episodes, or 7% of the season. A Thing About Machines, Mr. Dingle the Strong. Next, the 1 out of 3 category. Here we had 5 episodes, or 17% of the season. Nervous Man in a $4 Room, The Invaders, Long Distance Call, The Mind and the Matter, The Obsolete Man. Next is the 2 out of 3 category. Here we had 11 episodes, or 38% of the season. The Man in the Bottle, The Howling Man, The Trouble with Templeton, A Most Unusual Camera, Back There, The Whole Truth, A Penny for Your Thoughts, 22, The Prime Mover, 100 Yards Over the Rim, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? And finally, we have the 3 out of 3s, the best of the best. And here we also had 11 episodes, or 38% of the season. So an even split between great and good this time. Keen 9 Will Not Return, Eye of the Beholder, Nick of Time, The Lateness of the Hour, Night of the Meek, Dust, The Odyssey of Flight 33, Static, The Rip Van Winkle Caper, The Silence, Shadowplay. And here, once again, is a pie chart. Yay, pie charts. Next, let's look at the authors who made this season possible. We'll break down each writer's contribution and a little bit about them. From least to most. William Idleson, who co-wrote 1 episode in this season, so I gave him 0.5 of an episode, or 2%. William Idleson gets little more than a shrug from me, I'm afraid. As mentioned in the review of his episode Long Distance Call, I mentioned that this was a spec script, something that he submitted through his friend Richard Matheson to the show. He hadn't been commissioned for it. And it's hard to know exactly what Charles Beaumont's contribution to it was, other than revisions. I don't know if Beaumont made it worse or better, but overall, the episode's forgettable. And obviously, clearly didn't get him the foothold into the Twilight Zone that I think he was hoping for. George Clayton Johnson, who wrote 1 episode, or 3%. Several of George Clayton Johnson's short stories were adapted back in Season 1 to mediocre results. But this story, A Penny for Your Thoughts, really did affect me. I really liked it. It was a fun, light-hearted character study that actually had an arc, had a character growth. I am glad to see some of Johnson's more impressive writing chops, because I was starting to doubt him. But actually now, I'm quite excited for what he might do in Season 3. Here's hoping. E. Jack Newman, who wrote 1 episode, or 3%. E. Jack Newman has written countless stories, a prolific author in pulp science fiction, and his contribution to the Twilight Zone was a good one, though I feel that he retreaded ground that Serling covered in Season 1, and didn't tread it quite as well. It was a good episode, but with a single contribution to the Twilight Zone, it's hard to get a gauge for E. Jack Newman's writing chops here. Richard Matheson, who wrote 2 episodes, or 7%. A little disappointed with Richard Matheson's contributions to Season 2. Nick of Time is one of my favourite episodes. Incredible acting from William Shatner, and a great, incredible message, told in a really creative and down-to-earth way. Well done. That's the Richard Matheson I know. But The Invaders. A unique tale, to be sure, but a strange one. I'm going to give him a draw here, and just hope that Matheson comes back swinging in Season 3. Charles Beaumont, who wrote 4 episodes and then co-wrote 1 episode with William Idelson, so 4.5 or 16%. Charles Beaumont upped his game this season. I was very skeptical of his skills after season 1 with such a terrible episode in Elegy and some other forgettable ones. But here, we got a couple of really strong ones, including Shadowplay, one of my favourite episodes of all time. Mr. Beaumont, why didn't you write more Dream episodes? You would have been my favourite. And of course, Rod Serling, who wrote 20 episodes, or 69%. Mr. Serling needs no introduction. 20 episodes. The man wrote 70% of the season. And again, some of his most brilliant works are in this season. Wow. Yes, he had some real bad ones. But kudos to the man. Could I have written 20 scripts and delivered most of them as gold? I don't think so. And there's plenty more where that came from. And once again, here's a pie chart. And finally, of course, the moment you've all been waiting for. We hit some pretty low valleys in season 2, but which valleys were the lowest? This is my top 3 worst episodes of season 2. In third place, The Mind and the Matter, episode 63, written by Rod Serling.
This.
The mind and the matter. How you can achieve the ultimate power of concentration. A little on the occult side, isn't it, Henry?
Maybe so, Mr. Beechcroft, but this friend of mine is well, you might say he's a student of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he swears by that book. He says, to the best of his knowledge, it's the only one in existence.
Many of the light-hearted character study episodes aren't great, but this is the biggest flop in that category. It's got a few funny lines here and there to save it from the rubbish bin, and plays with a much more interesting topic for a little bit of its ending runtime. But overall, the episode is boring, goes nowhere, and has a really annoying main character. In second place, A Thing About Machines, episode 40, written by Rod Serling.
Why don't you get out of here, Finchley?
I think this was supposed to be a straight-up horror story, but just failed completely in that regard by having no stakes and ruining the tension with Electric Razor Snake. Unless it was supposed to be an allegory for older people resisting technological progress? In which case, it still failed because the plot was nonsensical and the main character was insufferable. Were we supposed to feel sorry for him? Because the only ones I feel for are the television he smashed and the poor blokes who had to watch this dumpster fire. And the worst episode of season 2 is Mr. Dingle the Strong, episode 55, written by Rod Serling. What on earth was Mr. Serling thinking when he wrote this? Was this made on a dare? Was it ghostwritten by an orangutan? One of the most idiotic premises I have ever seen, and the 2 aliens were vomit-inducing.
Certainly is sub-physical. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he's sub-mental, too.
This wasn't even funny bad. It was just bad. The scenes were in a nonsensical order, every single character was a prick, and any sort of message was just buried under this terrible tale. Poor Mr. Meredith. This is the kind of role you leave out of a resume. Do yourself a favour and never see it, ever. But let's not leave this wrap-up on a negative note. There may have been some low valleys, but boy, were there some high peaks we climbed together in Season 2. And now, I present to you my top 3 best episodes of Season 2. In third place, The Silence, Episode 61, written by Rod Serling.
I will bet him $500,000 that he cannot remain silent for 1 year. The wager carries with it the following conditions. He will be placed in a room for observation by me or by any one of us at our discretion. He will be furnished with anything he desires by way of diversion, but he will not be able to speak one single word for 12 months. Not one single word.
A cruel yet beautifully told tale. Not a single supernatural or bizarre thing occurs. Yet the episode grips you with this duel between two prideful men trying to one-up each other, right to the ending. From the silent determination of the one, to the biting and powerful words of the other, to the absolutely original and unrelenting twist. You're in for a good time. In second place, Dust, Episode 48, written by Rod Serling.
You never been drunk, Mr. Sheriff? You never felt such misery rising in you that salvation seemed to look at you from only out of a bottle? You never felt pain, such pain that you had to ride through the night, not look behind you? My son was hungry, and he felt such pain.
This episode should have won an Emmy. What a gem. Again, no supernatural elements. Just raw emotion, brilliant writing, great direction, and poignant acting combined to create an experience you'll never forget. The first time I saw this, I felt like I'd stumbled into a gold mine. I was in tears. A true examination of forgiveness and the magic of the human heart. In any other season, this would be the winner easy. In Season 2, though, that's gotta go to Eye of the Beholder, Episode 42, written by Rod Serling.
Kind of warm.
Yes. And clouds. Were there clouds in the sky?
I suppose there were. I never was much for staring up at the sky.
No. I used to like to look at the clouds a lot. If you stare at them long enough, they become things. You know what I mean? Oh, people, ships, anything you want, really.
It's time to take your temperature now.
Oh, please, one more thing, nurse.
Well?
When will they take the bandages off?
This is the Twilight Zone. Sharp, intelligent dialogue. Check. Great direction and brilliant cinematography. Check. Interesting and thought-provoking concept with a great and relevant Aesop underneath? Definitely check.
Why do we have to look like this?
I don't know, Miss Tyler. I really don't know. But you know something? It doesn't matter. There's an old saying, a very, very old saying. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
If you even kind of like the Twilight Zone, you'll like this one. In fact, you'll never forget it. You've heard of it. You know this exists. So if you haven't watched it, what's wrong with you? And that's it from me. 3 more seasons, 91 more episodes, and lots of great stories still to come. Until next time.